I have a question, Levi. You know, David Carr, when he entered the league as the Texans, do you know how many sacks he got sacked? You know how many times he got sacked?
I do not.
I forget what it is, but I was just looking, and I'm actually very impressed. You know how many times Sam Howell has been sacked?
How many?
40.
Oh my.
It's been 7 weeks.
Yeah, well, Washington's offensive line is historically one of the worst O-lines ever.
But let's like look at this. The next closest person is Daniel Jones with 28, then Justin Fields with 24.
Well, hang on. How many times has Tyrod Taylor been sacked, though? Because Tyrod Taylor started 2 games for the Giants.
Tyrod Taylor. He has been sacked 8 times.
So combining those, the Giants have allowed 36, and the Commanders have allowed 40. What is going on in the NFC East right now?
I think it's overrated, not really good teams. If you're gonna ask me, I think that was a fluke season last year for the Giants. I mean, if you look at this right here,
yeah.
Daniel Jones, how many games has he played? He's played
5 games,
800 passing yards with 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
And I saw a stat that said Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones in their careers as members of the Giants have the same amount of games with 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, which is 1. They have 1 each. Tyrod Taylor has started 2 games for the Giants and already has 1 game with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. Daniel Jones has done it once in his entire career.
That is absolutely crazy.
And they paid him $40 million. That looks worse than the Geno Smith contract.
That was really bad. I
don't know how you sign him to that.
I don't know why they signed him in the first place. I thought that was a really stupid contract, in my opinion. What's next, Levi?
I mean, yeah, going back to Sam Howell really quick. Watching him play, it's confusing me because the stats are okay, and he's playing behind the worst offensive line. I actually see a bit of Kirk Cousins inside of him, but I need to see a lot more before I mean, it took me about 4 or 5 years to fall in love with Kirk Cousins as a player, and it might take me 4 or 5 years to fall in love with Sam Howell. I'm not sure if the Commanders, again though, same thing with Kenny Pickett. I'm not sure if the Commanders should give him 3 or 4 years to develop.
I actually think the Commanders should give him another year or 2. Because if you look at the stats, if you give him the stats, he's a top 10 passer. He has top 10 passing yards with 1,700. And he's only...
Case Keenum was once a top 10 passer too.
That's also true, but that may have been a one-time thing.
If the Commanders wind up going 6-11, have a top 10 pick, which I think is well within possibility. They have 3 and 4 right now.
If they have a top 10 pick, they pick a quarterback.
If they have a top 10, if you go 7 and 10, do you pick a quarterback? It depends on who you're getting.
Yeah, it depends on who you're getting.
If they go 3 and 7 the rest of the way, which I think is very possible.
I think that's
then
very
you got
possible.
6 wins. You're going to be a top 10 pick. It's you're going to be able to get the 3rd best quarterback potentially in that scenario. You're not probably going to get Mike. You're not going to get Caleb Williams. You're not going to get Drake May.
You could get Penix Jr.
You could get Michael Penix. You could get JJ McCarthy. You would have your pick of Nix, McCarthy, Penix, potentially. Shador Sanders is not. We're not sure.
Going next year. He's going next year.
He said, "Well, we'll see." I'm still not convinced that he's actually going to go another.
I would
year
love him to be in this draft class. I think that would make this draft class 10 times more interesting. And
they've also got the player down in LSU who's having a really good season.
Ooh, I know who you're talking
Daniels,
about.
I think his name is.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also,
so there's about six quarterbacks. I mean, Quinn Ewers in Texas is a great prospect. He doesn't have the college success that the other guys do.
I think Bo Nix is a great pickup. I mean, I think he's probably going to be 3rd, 4th off the board.
Personally, I think Penix should be the 3rd, but
I think
we'll
Penix
see.
should be. He looks better. He's got the more better stats. But I think Bo Nix is the more NFL ready quarterback right now.
All I'm saying is there's a lot. I think it could end up being a bloodbath for the quarterback. I mean, for my projections, for my standings projections, we'll see if it'll load on my computer here. I have the Cardinals getting the number 1 pick. I have them as the 16 seed in the NFC. My number 2 pick winds up actually going to the Colts. The Colts as the number 16 seed in the AFC.
because they had a trade or something?
Doesn't it alternate conference or does it not?
I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't. It would either be the Colts or it would be the Bears.
I don't think is either of those two teams. I would say the Panthers would get the number 2 pick, but that's...
I think the Panthers are going to win some games starting this week against the Texans, but we'll see. But my projections, anyways, the Panthers pick belongs to the Bears. So guaranteed the Cardinals and Bears are going to be picking within the top 5. They both theoretically could draft a quarterback, but they also both theoretically might not.
I think Cardinals, you draft. I don't think Kyler Murray has shown that. I think the COD on the side in his own personal life has gotten into the game. I don't think he's a committed quarterback right now. I think you flip him to the Jets. Jets need a quarterback, and I think it's a win-win situation. I think you stick with Jobs for the rest of the year, tank, basically, and then flip Murray to the Jets and get something out of this.
Well, Rodgers is going to be on the Jets, so they're not going to do that.
No, but Rodgers is old.
Well, he's playing next year. Why would they trade for Kyler Murray?
Maybe they can get something. Maybe they make that playoff run so that Rodgers comes in.
I think they can trade him to somebody else.
Do you think?
They're not going to trade him. Nobody's trading for Kyler this year.
So my question is: do you think the Jets should trade for Dobbs to make that push to make a playoff push?
Dobbs is not as good as Zach Wilson.
So you do think Zach Wilson is better than Dobbs?
I think if you look at, I think.
That's tough.
I think the guys who I would trade for if I'm the Jets, I mean, the Vikings aren't going to trade Kirk, though. They're not.
No, the Vikings
Kirk would be the option. I mean, you could maybe call the Panthers and see what they want for Andy Dalton. I mean, I don't know. Andy Dalton, I think, could be better than Zach Wilson, but there's not a whole lot of options. Just, like, looking realistically, who's getting traded? Like,
I don't think
people were saying they should ask the Rams for Stafford, but the Rams are competing this year.
I don't know.
Do you call the Saints and ask for Derek Carr or Jameis? Maybe Jameis Winston.
No.
Those are the. But if you're like if your options are trade for Jameis, trade for Andy Dalton, or keep Zach, and I honestly think that those are the two best options for them.
What do you think about Baker Mayfield?
The Bucs aren't going to trade him. They're competing. They're competing for an NFC South title.
Okay,
the Bucs are trying to make the playoffs. They're not trading him.
That's true.
I mean, honestly,
I'm just trying to think.
They have two. It's Zach. They're gonna roll with Zach.
Do you think that the Panthers could salvage themselves after seeing that Bryce Young is clearly not what they drafted at? Flip him to the Jets, get a first rounder back. They definitely lose.
Well, the Jets would not.
But do you think this is something the Panthers should consider?
No.
The Panthers are on
No. Bryce Young's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. He got injured. He has obviously struggled. He has a terrible team around him. I'm gonna pull up the schedule. Here's the games I think they will win. I think they will beat the Texans. I think they will beat the Titans. And then late in the season, I think they make a little run. I think they can beat the Saints, the Falcons, Green Bay, and they beat the Buccaneers. I think that when the Panthers their division is so bad, they can easily get some division wins. They also play the Bears, who I'm giving that win to Chicago. That could be a win for the Panthers as well. There's a scenario where the Panthers win 6 or 7 games.
I think it's possible, but I also think that you're saying in the next 11 games for the Panthers, they win 5 of those. They win half of them. I don't think so. I think
they do. Bryce Young's going to be okay. Let's see.
I think he's going to be okay, but I just think as a Panthers, like, you know how general managers think, they're usually in there 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Do you think this is something that a manager should think about? Like, should they flip that? I don't think so. I think it's too young. I think it's too. No,
the Panthers. The Panthers are stuck with Bryce for this year, and they're stuck with him for next year. So they need him to be the number 1 pick that they drafted him to be, and I think he can. I think he can be that.
Huh?